Hey everybody, welcome into Variant Intel episode 13. Today's special guest is none other than Vintage Clash. Welcome to the show, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you coming on. I kind of jumped in last minute, gave you a buzz on the Twitters, and said, "Hey, man, would you like to come on?" And so tell us, for those that variants and claws that might not know who you are or haven't had a pleasure of meeting you yet. What's kind of your background with Midnight Society and with Doc and all that kind of stuff?
So I've been obviously a Doc fan for a while now. Recently, this last probably maybe 13, 14 months, uh, I have the pleasure of actually working on the creative team. So of Doc, but through that, also being a part of Midnight Society in however way I can help them over there. So not like a an integral part, but little parts here and there wherever I can help out. So if Doc's there with Midnight and anything like that, usually our teams cross paths.
No, that's awesome, man. So Doc fan since what pretty much the beginning. What are we talking like?
I
I'm
actually
trying to
got into
remember when
him
he got
late.
started, like 2013 or 14, maybe.
I got into him late. It was near the end of Twitch, beginning of YouTube era. I wasn't big into streaming, gaming, streaming stuff like that, just because of just nothing really kind of appealed to me that way until I think it was either the end of Vine or the start of TikTok when I started seeing clips of his all the time, and I'm like, dude, this guy's actually pretty funny. And then at my buddy's house, he was a huge fan. He'd been a fan since probably day one, and just we were watching one day, just one of his old live streams, and just kind of got hooked there. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna be a member now, watch the first stream, like all that stuff. So, yeah, not as super OG as some others, but you know, just about a few months before YouTube, a little bit after Twitch. So,
Nice, man. Yeah, no, it's one of those things. I think that kind of happens with a lot of Doc fans. We catch a clip, we see his stuff, and then we're just automatically like, it's time to wake up. It's like,
yeah, it wasn't like the traditional because like my son was always big into gaming and streaming and stuff like that. But all his content was just like these younger guys and they're really loud, or it's like, hey, today we're gonna go, fill a pool of jelly beans. And I'm like, dude, who watches these people? Like,
yeah,
you know, I'm like, I don't. I was one of those who's like, who watches somebody play video games? And then I saw Doc and I was like, oh yeah, so that's someone I could watch. And then through him, it was like Tim and Nick and all these other guys. I'm like, okay, so here's this genre of gamer that I can relate to.
right, right. Yeah, no, I totally get it too. So I'm late 30s. Like I kind of feel you on some of that. Like it's just it's just this different dynamic. If you, especially if you grew up in like the 80s and early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a different feel, man. And it's
Yeah.
and it's kind of cool to see a bunch of creators out there now. Because I agree with you. Like 7, 8 years ago, I was looking around like I'm still kind of like it's still kind of a nerd thing to like. And then you look
Mm-hmm.
at like video games, like who's getting paid to play video games? It's like a lot of
Yeah.
people. It's like, all right, what's up with
But
this?
yeah, and I started getting it. I was like, okay, because you know, okay, there's gameplay, but then there's a whole other avenue beyond it. And I tried, I mean, obviously now I watch a lot of other streamers, whether they're larger or smaller. And to me, I think what kind of linked me up even more so with Doc was the community, because I was just watching him, had him, tabbed up at work or something, or on my phone and Bluetooth, and then all of a sudden it was like, hey, this he's got this thing called Doctober, which is more my background of like, creating stuff. And then I did that, and then the community, it was just like I was like, holy crap, you know what I mean? Like I barely was on Twitter, and then that, a lot of folks knew me from that, and then that's when I met, some folks like Carl Edge and Gozer and you know Stone, Starshot, these guys. It's like, hey, you want a game with us? I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
so you kind of, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, now we're doing these events, and now we're doing this, and then it kind of, and now it's like, there's hundreds, thousands of champs, that I'm fortunate enough to meet and be pals with. So yeah, that's how it kind of blew up from there. So it again, it's just the community. I think the community was weak and wasn't there. Kind of goes hand in hand. So there's Doc, and then there's the community.
I 100% agree. I probably I think the first time I saw Doc was like late 2015, and I just started seeing clips and stuff, and like I similarly, there just wasn't a lot of, I was still trying to get the idea of like people streaming as entertainment. Like I was still trying to like come to terms with that new reality, right?
Yeah.
And like part of me as a gamer is like, oh, it's kind of cool, but I didn't really I didn't really find any channels that like spoke to me. And then like I started seeing more creators like kind of my age and stuff, and then I saw Doc, and then the community surrounding Doc, like you said, is really was the glue, right? Like, and
Mhm.
then the more I started to watch Doc, the more I started to realize like I find myself laughing so much more
Yeah.
than I expected to, and and that's how it happens with Doc. He just has that personality. So, but you're right, the community. I mean, we're sitting here right now. This is a direct result of the community that Doc
Oh,
and Midnight
exactly. Yeah.
Society have built, right?
Hmm.
And that's the community side of it. Like as a creator, for me, this is my bread and butter. This is what I like to do. I like to do stuff like recently we started doing the Twitter Spaces, because like this is cool. The podcast format is great. I love
Hmm.
having the guests on, but the Twitter Spaces that I just started doing, shout out to Spaceman for the idea, is just gives that round table. That's what we call a variant round table, and it just gives that open forum where community members can just jump in and everybody's got a voice. Everybody gets to talk and contribute and talk about this
Hmm.
game that we're so excited about. And yeah, so we got Snapshot 6 right around the corner, man. Like,
Coming up.
tell me, I mean, describe your hype level for us, man. I know it's there.
It is for me, and I've purposely been trying to like, you know, not not say not involved, but not be as nosy as I usually am into like upcoming stuff that's coming up. Because this time around, I mean, I'm always excited, but this time I'm like, okay, I want to like really kind of be blown away by stuff that's coming up, and that happens to me pretty much every snapshot that comes out. But where I get more stoked on is you start seeing, and again, it's just stuff that kind of goes back to community wise is uh, you know MS obviously makes some cool stuff. They post it up, and they have all these tournaments and but I like what the fans of the game and variants and key holders and all that stuff make their own content with the game. So, you're seeing people stream, 5, 6, 7 hours of the game themselves, making TikToks and shorts. And so to me, it's like that's what I like because it, it's kind of like a perfect example of community supporting something like, because if nobody's making the content, then you're like,
Yep.
why? Like, I wonder why they're not, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
here's this big idea. And then another thing too is like, what are they making content out of? And so is it cool stuff? Is it negative content? There could be negative
Right.
content. I mean, if it's anything, right? Because half the content that's out there on for other games are, hey, look at this, glitch or this whatever. But I don't know. I kind of see like people doing like 360 snipes again. Like, we haven't seen a 360 snipe since like, you know,
Yeah.
COD, what is it? World got like
World at
5 games
War.
next mind. No, Warzone 1, you know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean? Like,
Warzone 1, yeah.
when the snipers were king, so now we finally have a game where snipers are king again.
Yep.
And a lot of people doing just cool stuff with that. So, and then, even funny bits, people meeting other people and, messing around with the voice chat and stuff like that. So, yeah, when snapshots come out, the most that I'm stoked for is just the user generated content. I started looking at hashtags and everything.
Yeah, this is what's great. Just to echo your point, like right now, we have a ton of creators that are working on just the craziest left field stuff. They're so excited about the world and the lore of Dead Drop, and it's funny because the developers like Rob has even said like that's not a huge focus for us, but like it's funny because the community is like, nah, fam, like yes it is, like here we're doing all this stuff, we're making up our own lore and like fan made fictions like that could exist in the world of Dead Drop. Like you got Mara Reynolds doing some live action stuff. We have like you said, streamers that are dedicating 10 plus hours a day, it seems like, getting clips and figuring out all the glitches and weapon metas. We have we got people doing podcast content. I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
There's other groups that are doing podcast stuff. I've even kind of started doing this little series where it's like it's like just using audio, like an audiobook almost, but it's like
Hmm.
these like this fiction, like my variants in these weird situations with these characters I've made up.
Yeah.
I think some other community members have there's written fiction that
Hmm.
variants are coming up with that is really cool. So you're seeing all these different mediums that people are creating, and the game is barely just getting started, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, hats off to the community on that. And you're right, it does really change the dynamic because like if you have a game like you said that if no one's talking about it, you really don't have much. You kind
Hmm.
of games I think nowadays rely on their communities a lot more than it was probably with us growing up and things, with the internet and just YouTube and social media the way it is. Like you almost need that social engine, right? Now, you mentioned a point like, sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive, and bad press is still good press if it's getting attention to your game. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you don't want the community to like, you don't want to have a game where like that's the only stuff is negative stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
but in this case with Midnight Society, like obviously they're taking a whole different approach
Hmm.
with the open development that like is really no one else has really done before. And the best part that I like and this was, I kind of knew this already, but going to the Snapshot 5 event in person really just solidified it, is that, it's not fluff. It's not for show. They really mean it. They're very genuine. I got to meet most of a lot of the developers in person and a lot of other creators like yourself who are involved. And, I've just never seen anything like it, man.
Well, no,
It's a real privilege to be a part of. It really is.
yeah, and that's something I've talked about a lot with other I mean even other creators at the event, online or just in person when I'm talking to folks is you know uh Call of Duty, and nothing on them. I mean, it's just they've been around for a very long time. They have a way that they market and do a lot of things.
Mhm.
My thing is like whenever they have a game coming out or a new whatever, something they want to promote, they're gonna I don't see as much of like, hey, just fans come and do it, unless it was like something like EA does, a couple times, like, hey, come out and you can play whatever here. But
Yeah.
like you go to these events, like, so now I see, really big streamers, driving Hummers in the desert, shooting guns out of helicopters. But like, I'm just sitting here like, okay, like I guess I'll just watch, but
Yeah.
here's in my perspective, Midnight Society is like, hey, we're developing this game. We're gonna have this event over here. It's gonna be in Texas. We're gonna have all these PCs. A lot of your favorite streamers are gonna be there, but they're actually the uh, minority at this event because the fans are gonna be there playing the game and
Yeah.
doing all. And oh yeah, want to bring sure, hey, bring someone with you. Hey, here's these tower keys, by the way. Like blow that up. Now more people are gonna play during the event. Casters, you're watching, these people that we watch play, all these FPS games. They're playing Midnight Society's games, but it's not this like tiny exclusive event or like, okay, here's your talking points. Here's things we want you to
Yeah.
talk about.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
they're just like, hey, fired up and go. Like, we're pretty sure like this is where we want it at this point. And
Yep.
then, oh, here's all here fans come on, however many hundreds of you are here. And then after that, oh, you guys want to talk and meet with us? Okay, cool. We're gonna sit here for 4 or 5 hours after the event closes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if COD ever did something like that. I don't remember it. But like I said, whenever it's like this big COD event, it's like you know private access only, special game access only. But
Right.
here,
Right.
they're super transparent. And what I like about Midnight Society is just like I said, super transparent.
No, I agree, and that's it's interesting, right? You look at if you ever look at like I was talking with some other community members about this. I said, watch, like, so Midnight Society is taking a very bold approach in multiple fronts, right? What
Hmm.
we just talked about was on the front of open development, right? That's kind of like
Hmm.
one side of it. Later on down the road, as it develops, they have an NFT side of things, which is a whole nother talking point. But
Hmm.
like, I guess the point that I spoke with other community members about was, when you compare that to the rest of the industry is so used to doing what works and what has worked, and they're, in my opinion, afraid to innovate. And of course, a lot of things are beholden to shareholders and things like that.
Mhm.
But like, but at the same time, everyone loves a guinea pig as long as it's not them.
Mhm.
So in this case, Midnight Society is going out there, putting themselves, at the forefront, taking the risk. And I promise you, I've been saying this from day one. My prediction is they'll succeed, and then the rest of the industry will follow suit. Mark my words. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hope that's true because it's just like competition is great for the consumer, right?
Mhm.
If you force innovation, I think everybody kind of wins, right? You have to have that, and that's where we're at in the gaming industry right now. Is it's so stale?
Mhm.
It took Call of Duty as our reference point. How long has like the extraction shooter, or let's say battle royale? How long was
Mhm.
the battle royale in the world before Call of Duty finally said, "Okay, we'll spend the money," you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And that's fine, right? At least they did. I'm not going to complain too much, but you know, and now, instead of it being a genre per se, I think everyone in the industry's caught on that the extraction shooter is the next hot ticket genre. Everyone's caught up with that. That's fine. But open development, I think, is the next big push. Like, yeah, because it's showing to just. I think in the long run, they're gonna make their money, right?
Mhm.
Why not do it in a way that's like, open, transparent? You build a better community that way, in my opinion. It's a stronger
Yeah.
community. You get longevity out of it, and uh eh, you know I guess we could get into like, how it's monetized. That's a whole different ball of wax that we could talk about,
Mhm.
and I know I've got opinions. I'm sure you do too. But so, since we're on the topic of dead drop and open development and things like that, like, what are some things I mean, what are some things about Midnight Society as a studio, or perhaps the game Dead Drop, or maybe future games that they're building, that, what's something about all that that you're kind of looking forward to outside of just playing Snapshot 6?
Again, I just got to go back to the biggest thing is because I like user generated content and stuff going online and kind of seeing the direction that goes. I also like, that it's a studio from what I've seen and experienced that enjoys that and enjoys the feedback, positive and even if someone's got a negative point or something, you'll see Rob replying to a tweet or something. I've seen that. Um, I mean, we're being able to meet and work alongside of them in stuff like that in limited cases, like at the events or group meeting stuff like that. Like everyone's happy, focused, like um positive, and again in the events, seeing them at the events is cool because you could kind of be in this in a work bubble no matter what you do, whether you work, a 9 to 5, at a Best Buy or an office or at a gaming studio, so to be able to see like your hard work every X amount of months out there and people are playing it and even little things that I do, it's like, and I catch a comment somewhere, um, on the doc side of things of like, oh, hey, that whatever, that thing's cool. And I'm like, to myself, I'm like, hell yeah, I did that. All right, cool. Like, I feel good.
Yeah.
All right, cool, good. Okay. They like that. Sometimes you like second guess things. But I mean, I think as there's a team of like creative assassins over there that are just, you know, working hard. They have a goal and positive there. And then obviously you have the community that kind of ups them and supports them. And like I said, the main thing is seeing that I look forward to is the stuff people make and post online because I'm always a big fan of that.
Hmm.
Because you also never know what it leads to. I see people are creating, weapon skins and armor, like their own fan art generated stuff, and it's like, just think how empty that person's anybody, but like anybody who's creating content, fan art or whatever, as homage to a game, like how empty would profiles be or boredom be if you didn't have that? So it does kind of influence creativity that might not even known you had.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, creativity breeds creativity, and that is true. It always has been in all of history.
Yeah.
Like I've had ideas that have popped up, like for instance, I think episode 3 of Variant Intel is like either 3 or 4. I was scrambling to get a guest. The guest that I had lined up, like, just life happened. It was no big deal, and I really didn't want to miss because it was so early of a show, of a project that I was trying to do, and I just didn't want to miss that week. So I like kind of just like scrambled and created this like skit with these characters I made up,
Yeah.
and and it did pretty well, and people really like the like the characters and stuff, and now because of that and the reception I got from that, I started creating this like audio book style content stuff that's like fiction narrative, and like I would have never thought
like,
of
why
that.
not?
I would have never thought of that if somebody didn't laugh at me being silly in a video,
Dude, I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, a few times a few things in my life have had gone positive because of just random stuff I'd done and made. I mean, if to get through it like super quickly, I used to, I mean, how many jobs and bosses are like, they, they'll find you on Instagram or TikTok, like, hey, it should be a little more professional. It's not like I was doing anything crazy, but it's like,
right?
these videos are, it's like, I think it's just another weird avenue for them to want. I'm like, dude, it's just like me and my family doing, whatever, like,
Yeah, they're
funny
like
little
stream
videos or
sniping you, huh?
something. Yeah. But I mean, it's from that, like I got actually in trouble when I used to work at CarMax, years ago, and I got in trouble, or not in trouble, but talked to, sat down because I filmed
went to the principal's office.
Dude, I filmed myself getting 50 corn dogs at Sonic, right? Not eating them, but like what happened.
Right, I know.
Like, there's context to it, but it was funny because everyone was busy, crazy busy. I almost think it was like 4th of July weekend kind of thing. I don't know what it was, but everyone was busy. No one got a lunch, and I was like, I just finished my customer's appointment. I'm like, dude, I saw 50-cent corn dogs. I'm gonna go load up and get as many corn dogs as I can.
Hell
so I went around, collected money from everybody. I'm like, I'll be back. And I filmed myself going to the drive-thru. I was like 50 corn dogs or 40 corn dogs, something like that. And you hear her on the mic. She's like, 50 corn dogs. I'm like, yep. She goes, okay, pull up. And like they were laughing like at the window. They're so like, dude, I'm like, do you want me to pull up? They're like, no, dude, this is great. We're getting so many corn dogs cooked for you. And then I filmed behind me. There's a huge line and out all the way to the parking lot because everyone is behind me. And I felt like a jerk. So anyways, my boss is like, oh, this show's a waste of time. You're wearing your CarMax shirt and all of that. I'm like, oh my God.
No.
But who knew 5 years later someone from Sonic would see that and hit us up, and now my family and I have been in like 15 Sonic commercials and all this.
That's so
like,
awesome.
So it's like, okay, so that worked out. And then same thing with video games. Like, oh, why are you wasting your time with that? I did this October thing, and also it's like, oh, cool, Doc Champions Club likes that. Cool, I'll start tweeting out every day funny donos that I send in, like to get him to read it, and they'd be like $3, and he'd still read them.
Yeah.
And I tweet it out, and I edit a little video, and all of a sudden it's like boom, boom, boom. Doc would like it, or someone else would like it, whatever. Tim, I think, liked a couple of them, and it's like, oh shit, okay. And then it's like fast forward now 2, 3 years. So it's like, okay, look where you're at now. So my thing is, if you want to just do something and make something, just do it. Who cares? No matter what you
do it.
Exactly. Because no matter what you do, there's always going to be, if I listen to my manager, or if I listen to the negative comments, because no one will, it's easier to tear something down than to build it up, right? And you're the one working and building some up. So it's like, just block them out. Just do what you want to do, because who cares? One day, who knows?
100%.
5 years from now, Rob could see something and be like, oh, okay, hey, we need this guy on the team, so who knows?
Yeah, that's and y'all heard it here first. I champion a lot of the creators in a similar way, but Vintage Clash, y'all heard it here. So OMA doing weapon skins, William doing music, all these guys that are contributing to the deadrop world, guys and gals, right? Hey, if y'all have something that apply to work there. I mean, look, you never know when, like Vintage said, like maybe a year down the road they got some kind of community role or something, right? Shout out to some of our members. We got OMA, Lolo Hales, Externaut. I think I'm saying that right. We got a few of them that just got the Sentry role in the Discord. I mean,
and I see these names pop up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it's like I don't know everybody super well, and there's even champs who I've met at events. They're like, hey, I'm so and so. I'm like, what's your Twitter name? You know what I mean? Like now I know who you are. You know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, it's like, hey, my name's John. It's like, I'm this person.
Like,
I'm like,
hi, John.
I said it before too. Like, people come up. I mean, because they're, hey, Vintage. I'm like, yeah. But then if I introduce them, hey, it's Jesse. What's going on? They're like, who are you? And I'm like, do you want my variant name? But like, my variant name, I'm not really active as much as I'd like to be in the Discord, I'm like, I don't think they'll know my name there. Like, oh, I'm Vintage, Vintage Clash, and it sounds kind of weird saying it, like I'm Vintage Clash, so
Yeah.
it's like just
But
I'm
that's
Jesse,
it's
but everyone
interesting.
knows you as that, so
Yeah, and no, and I totally know what you mean because again, like 7, 8 years ago, it'd be like, why are you using some weird internet,
yeah,
like, and but now like it's the reverse, like you have to because otherwise it's like,
yeah,
okay, John, hi,
yeah,
oh, you're so and so, oh, okay,
yeah.
you know,
Or you're at Starbucks, it's like, yeah, I'd like a tall venti, frappuccino for helmet fire,
yeah, yeah,
please.
with extra fire, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
helmet fire. You're like, okay,
it's like, dude, maybe that would be so embarrassing. Maybe I should do that one day. Just go into Starbucks and be like, and then have them call it out on the PA. Oh, we have
yeah.
a tall boy
Dude,
for
at
freaking
least we have
helmet
names
fire.
now that like it's not. At least it's names as we got older. We kind of fixed a little bit. I mean, imagine like AOL Messenger day screen names or MySpace names. Like
Bro.
they probably couldn't do any of those.
Yeah, I remember like the early days of like 360 and stuff where all the gamer tags were like XX, no scope, 360, XX, you know. And
Exactly. XX rar XX underscore
yeah,
meow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and like everyone would roast you if would tell them what your gamer tag was, but like
Oh, dude, mine were. I got into. Man, I had Jackal, and I thought I was being edgy. I was like JAKCLE.
yeah, yeah.
And then it was like capital K, and then when I started gaming, the most embarrassing name. So I was Vintage Clash, what I used to use for like design stuff, but like when I was online, I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to do like that. So I made one. It's from this Murder City Devil song called Boom Swagger, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'll do a Boom Swagger, but then it was like swag and swagger started becoming like this weird like almost under like the bling bling, you know what I mean, era.
Yeah.
So it's like people were like, oh, he's swagger. I'm like, God, this sounds so corny. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go to Vintage Clash and change it back now, because how am I gonna, oh, what's your gamer tag? It's Boom Swagger. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, like, and then people were like oh, like a shotgun boom and like swagger because you're so smooth. I'm like, no, it's a song. It's a song. So yeah, just Vintage Clash. And there's like, what's Vintage Clash? I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. It just
Yeah.
sounds better than Boom Swagger at this point.
Oh man, trying to like explain the story behind a screen name or a gamer tag is like it's almost always like super painful, right?
Yeah. My
But
name
sometimes
Vintage
it's
Clash came
hilarious
from
though.
a dude. My name Vintage Clash came from a teacher insulting me, and I
Oh,
just took it, made it my identity.
that's interesting. So my name is kind of like a dual meaning. Like mine was from Halo 3 days when the recon helmets had fire.
Mm-hmm.
But around that same time, it was like early days for me in the military. And as a early 20s young guy, I had a very short temper.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was in aviation, so they like someone told me that one day. They were like, "Hey, you need to calm down. You need to go douse that helmet fire before you have a
Yeah.
freaking aneurysm," And that's kind of, and then like right around the
Little
same
did they
time playing
know that was
Halo,
your
it was just
villain arc,
that. Yeah, that
your
was
origin story.
pretty much, man. And here we are. I have it on as a freaking neon
Yes.
sign. Why
Yeah,
not,
just like
right?
that.
Embrace
I,
it,
dude, I had this teacher, big red curly hair in college, and was like, it could have been a little before that, but no, it was like freshman in college, and he like couldn't understand why I like mixed kind of older aesthetics to new. And my thing was like, hey, how would you make this in the 70s if you had technology of today, or you're forced to use technology today? And that's kind of, I'd link it to a little bit. It's kind of like, I mean, even what deadrop is, right? It's like 80s in the future vibe,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It's like
So,
futuristic 80s.
and that's kind of like what I liked a lot of my work, because I liked the way old stuff looked, and I didn't like the way new stuff looked, but there was stuff that would look cool, in older artistic style in
Mm-hmm.
the new. I mean, they didn't have a name for it. It's just how I always did everything, kind of grungy or faded and noise and distort. And then he said something where he's like, I can look on this wall and I know exactly which one's vintage is here. And like no one knew what he was talking about. I didn't even know, right? And then
Yeah.
he's like, and he goes, so which one's vintages? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? Jesse. I'm like, what? Oh, well. And everyone's like, that one, because mine obviously looked like completely different than some of the other ones on the wall. And he's like, yeah, man, just your stuff clashes everyone else's. Looks like you're not following this and that and everything. And I didn't think of it then, but later I was telling the story. I'm like, yeah, he's like, oh, mimicking the story later. Well,
Yeah.
he says, all my vintage crap, just like, I said, I don't even like the word vintage. It's not even what it is, saying I clash everything. And I was like, so then as like, to be funny, when I turned in my next assignment, I said like, sincerely vintage clash, right? Just to be funny.
Yeah.
And then he just started calling me that. And I was like, we're not friends still, but that
Yeah.
is a cool name now that I think about
Just
it.
because you gave me a cool name doesn't mean we're
I
friends.
still don't like it. It was an insult, but I'm going to take that insult. But it's true. That's what I think of every single time is like, same thing. Hey, if someone knocks it, you know what I mean? Just own it at that point,
Oh yeah.
So
100%, man.
Take ownership of your insults.
Yeah. Because look, you're your own person, especially if you're a creative type. Like, I mean, you are who you are, dude. Like if you have take pride in what you do, right? And go for it. Chase down after it. I give a OMA monster, he does a lot of weapon skins and stuff, and I've talked to him offline, and any creator you talk to is kind of like this. We're all our own worst critics, right? And I've told him so many times, like, bro, get that out of here. Like, just submit your work, put in the application. Like, it doesn't matter if you get turned down. It shows, like, hey, you know what? I believe in myself and my own work, and and he does, right? I'm not trying to single him out or nothing, but I'm saying this to anybody for our conversation here. Like, dude, like,
if you're listening, he is totally.
Yeah, he's totally. I know, right? But yeah, man, no, it is so cool to see what people are creating, and we're so early. That's the best part. We're so early, man. Like, imagine what the landscape's going to look like in a year from now. What's going to be created? What's going to supplement with the UGC mode and everything else?
Yeah.
I used to do like some kind of machinima stuff, like movie making, like RB and the Chief kind of stuff, right? So I was asking Rob if they were ever going to do like a theater mode, and sadly he said no, womp womp. But like, I'll figure it out.
Make your own. You know what?
I'll figure it out.
Here's what you do: you get all your buddies in a lobby, queue up, start your OBS recorder, and then just act out your own scenes
just
and
play
everything
director.
you're doing. Dude, just do it that. Post it up. I guarantee you, people like I'm already thinking like, okay, there's content right there, right? Like, and it's true. Maybe there will never be this theater mode, right? But like. Now, who knows? Someone else might say, like, oh, I got an idea for this. Like,
we just find a no gun glitch, like where your character model's not holding the gun. Like, we would do that in Destiny all the time in D1.
Or just going empty, right? Just going empty and like just do whatever you want and just make fun content out of it that way. Like it came to a point in like even Call of Duty, like it began like, well, how can we just make a funny clip now? You know what I mean? Like, okay, obviously we want to win, but let's see, like, if we can every 3 games, can we get like one funny video out of this or something?
Right.
So just trying to look at anything, and then I know you mentioned May and his stuff too, but it's like that's a perfect point. As someone who's a fan and he is making this content himself, putting it out there to the crazy world of Twitter, which is like once you hit tweet, you're like, okay, and so it's like, but then to see it so well liked in the community, you're like, oh, that's cool, like, and that's something that he's doing on his own. But he could do that with any look at all the other games that are out there, right? He doesn't have to do it for Midnight Society, but that's again what he likes, and that's to me, like I said, kind of a give and take of the gaming community and the creatives. Even if you're not creative, it's like now someone who's not creative can see it like, oh, that would be cool. Hey, I would like to see that in a game, and so it's like this whole cycle of, if he never made that, if there was no MS, he wouldn't have made that person wouldn't have had this input here. Like, it's all a crazy chaotic circle. So, and obviously, people know him, you see his tweets, and people like all this stuff and comes up, and even your stuff popping up more and more on feed, as I think you've been focusing more on like Midnight Society stuff, and so now it's like this circle starts getting a little tighter. And you mentioned Mayor Reynolds, right? Like I didn't know who he was until Midnight Society, right? So but he's probably been doing gaming stuff forever, but just because I haven't, I'm like so many lanes, and then okay, MS, and now I see this other creator. So like I said, it's just the studio for what it is kind of spored off a lot of different avenues for people to get creative and stuff.
Yeah, they're drawing in a lot of folks, and I do attribute a lot of that to the open development by allowing access to the game in such an early stage, and their marketing roadmap is obviously very intuitive to support that. You know, a lot of credit to you know, the whole studio and their creative vision for how they're marketing it. This approach to say, well, you know, we're gonna, you know, traditionally a lot of studios will, sure, they'll like send review copies to creators and do like closed door events and stuff like this to promote their
Yeah.
game, and it is a good utilization of you know, that piece to help market your product. But again, Midnight Society's approach is so unique, and they're kind of doing it in a reverse way where it's like, you know what, instead of developing a game for 3 years and then doing a public beta and say, surprise, here's our game, why don't
Hmm.
we just start from the ground zero, start building that community, and then the founders passes come in and really just like build that marketing engine in kind of an organic way, and it's actually really genius if you ask me. And
And plus, it's not
it's
unsolicited feedback. You know, it's like, hey,
yeah,
do you want to be a part of this? And you see, it's not like you're getting cold called or a random email like, hey, do you
yeah,
want to try this? And then you're already gonna have this like, okay, you know, because someone's like, hey, here's Midnight Society. It's a vertical extraction shooter. You know, here's, you know, Dead Drop. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Fill out this 50 question survey monkey, and then
yeah.
like you're done. It's like, okay, okay, like it's but now you've been involved from, you know, concept, trailer, announcement, event, the fans, the, you know, your own genuine feedback. Oh, it'd be cool if we can blah 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 blah, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we address this da, 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 in this snapshot now what we're doing, you know, and you're like, oh, that's cool, you know, commenting on something and the developers are liking. I mean, you're playing with the developers, right? Fridays,
Yeah,
like,
well,
you,
not. I mean, that's where you see them a lot of times. But there's been times in the middle of the week, a dev will just pop in the Discord. Hey, I'm free. I'm jumping in for like 30 minutes. Come get me. You
yeah,
know, which is
dude,
super
all that
cool.
stuff. Yeah, all that stuff's cool. Like, so that's what I think it makes a difference because now you've got more of a stake, or you're more in level playing field. It's not like ivory tower vibes, you know.
Right.
Like, I've made this game for you, my fans. You know, let me know what you
Yeah,
think
my
about it.
loyal subjects.
Yeah, now it's like, hey, we're on the same level here. You know, we're all we like. He's right there. You know, to me, Midnight Society's right there with you. And you're like, that's where we want our game to be, right? So we're here, and we're gonna get up there. Like
Yeah,
that's why I'm always stoked every time I see stuff coming out. I'm like, dude, this is cool. You know.
yeah. It really is legit, man. Yeah. Wow. I don't know. It's what I'm most excited about with myself and the other fellow creators that are creating content for Dead Drop, which is a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And even the people that are sticking around, maybe they're not creators, but they're sticking around. I'm so excited to, again, a year from now, look back and say, look where we were. We got in early. We got in on the ground floor. We helped really build a foundation alongside the studio, not like for them, like you said in their
Yeah.
tower. It was this truly collaborative effort, and again, to be a part of that is really special. And I think I hope a lot of people see it for what it is. Right? Obviously, there's a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
on the outside that have this and that, and you know, but I think if you just give it a shot and you come try to be a part of this community, you'll probably never look back. It's just
Yeah, and which
it
is fine. You're gonna get people who are like that. And it's like, cool. It's like, you know, you can, we'll be here. You know what I mean? Like, that's
right.
kind
Oh
of how
yeah.
I always say. It's like, hey, we're still gonna be here. You know, you can, whether you're for it, against it, on the fence, whatever. Um, some people just aren't gonna play certain games or certain
Right.
styles, and you know, some people might have conflicts with X, Y, and Z. Like, whatever it is, everyone has their own issues. But you know, it, I again, like, a community, it grows. Like, I wasn't into watching streamers, watching gaming stuff, I was watching food YouTube videos, you know, and how to
Hmm.
barbecue and cook and things like that. And my son was the one who was into gaming stuff, you know. And then it was my buddy, and all of a sudden, like, slowly trickled in. So, and I was brought in by the community. Had the community been like toxic or bad or whatever it is, I just would have been like, okay, maybe it's not for me. But it ended up being. So it's
Look, they came and
positive,
knocked on
you
your
know.
door and said, "You're gonna be here. You're coming.
Oh, literally, Carledge in my DMs. Hey, there's a game this Saturday. You're gonna be on
You're
my
doing
team.
it.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. You
Just let it
know,
happen."
yeah, exactly, exactly. And became friends with you know, solid core of Champions Club members, and again spiraled out, and now It's cool seeing all these people because it intermixes too. I think there's two communities. There's obviously doc community, MS community, and then there's, you know, a mixture of the two, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see that MS is getting their own community. You know, there's some people who are
I was going to say that.
solid MS.
I wanted to say that. So, you know, at first it you know, and for obvious reasons, it was like, oh, it's Dr. Disrespect's game and all this stuff. But as this past year has gone on, like Midnight Society has really fostered its own identity, and it really is like Doc is a founder, he's a core pillar of it and everything else, but Midnight Society is Midnight Society. And that has been growing more and more, just like you said. So we are getting close to time, but I know one of your comments we were talking about earlier, you said I'm just gonna go on there and talk about food all day. We gotta hit it up a little bit, because I don't know how much you got to hang out in Texas, but or how much you've visited Texas. Here in Central Texas, the food scene is crazy with the food trucks and everything. Mm-hmm. Tell me, like, where's your hot spots? What's your favorite go-to stuff? Tell me about it.
Okay, so when I was in Texas, it was Hurtado's. That was the best barbecue I'd had. Best fried chicken would be Nashville, Tennessee, but out here in LA, if you guys are here, okay, hashtag not an ad, but if anyone's ever in Los Angeles, you're gonna go down to Chinatown. You're gonna go to Howlin' Ray's, okay? And if you're in Pasadena, which is maybe a little 30 minutes above that, you're still gonna go to Howlin' Ray's at their Pasadena location. You know, Chef Johnny, Amanda, Juice, all you guys, Mario. Okay, you're gonna get if you like spicy, hot, but it tastes good, you're gonna go to Howlin' Ray's. So if anybody's ever in Southern California, I'd say San Diego up to Los Angeles, anywhere in the middle, anywhere from there, just hit me up on Twitter and be like, Jesse, I want to get some chicken, and that'll give me an excuse to go and have some more chicken, because I'm like an hour drive from them, but I'll make that drive. So I already got a plan. I'm already going there next week. I already even said, hey, I'm coming in. We've been going there since they opened up in Chinatown. They started as a food truck, then got their own spot in Chinatown, and then just blistered off. I mean, they have their own shoe with Adidas. You know what I mean? So
damn.
Dude, it's legit. So Howlin' Ray's, HOWLIN, at Howlin' Ray's on Twitter. Everyone go follow them now. Oh, Vintage Clash sent you.
Bro, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about Torchy's Tacos here in Texas. So they started off as a food truck. It's Americanized street tacos, but like don't like whatever like what do you call it, stereotypes that would automatically pop in your head about Americanized Hispanic inspired food. I would just throw it out the window, because it's just think food truck food, like just think like awesome badass food truck food. And they started off as food truck, and now they've had like multiple physical locations all throughout the state, and now they're actually expanding out of Texas because they're that good. So it's you know, so if you ever find a Torchy's Tacos, give it a shot, man. It is legit.
Oh, tacos. That's my I literally made a shirt. I made like my own, like years ago, like a merch shirt, and it says Navarro's Tacos, and it's a giant taco on it.
Bro, make it real. Let's go.
It is real. It is real. I have it somewhere.
No, I mean the restaurant. Like, I want to eat there.
Oh yeah. No. My restaurant actually is going to be Jesse's Chicken Shack. That's what it was going to be.
Oh, okay. I'm down, bro. Sign me up. Let's go.
Yeah, there it is. So one day I'm gonna finalize my Nashville hot chicken, and I'll have my own shop.
I'm down, bro.
Chicken and lemonade.
I tell you what. Hey, if I ever get like stupid rich, I'm calling you. I'm gonna invest. We're gonna do it.
There we go. Let's do
All right,
it.
man. Well, look, Jesse, I appreciate you being here, man. Vintage Class, it's been a pleasure, man. You're a huge member in the community. For those that haven't had a chance to interact with Vintage Class, you're missing out. Great guy, great family, huge Champion Clubs members for a very long time. And but that's about it. All we have for today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on all the things. And we'll see you in the tower. Have a good one.